But I wanted to do a book about the real thing, you know, and I started to do this book, and then Gary Bushell said he couldn't finish it, so it went to another writer, and then Mick Wall.
Picture this: the rock world is abuzz as Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness himself, steps into the limelight, casting a shadow over the legendary Led Zeppelin. Known for never holding back his opinions, Ozzy has recently shaken the music world by openly criticizing Led Zeppelin. Not just their music, but the excesses, egos, and dark underbelly that defined them. To many, it was shocking to hear such words from Osbourne, someone who shared the same chaotic rock lifestyle. But in his usual blunt fashion, he spoke about Zeppelin's infamous arrogance, their reckless behavior, and how their unchecked egos often led them to look down on other musicians. They acted like they were untouchable, he has implied, describing how their dismissive attitude towards other rock acts created tensions that lingered for decades. But Ozzy's disdain for Led Zeppelin wasn't just about their attitude. It was personal. As someone who had spent years trying to carve out his own space in the rock world, he had first-hand experience with how the band, particularly Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, viewed themselves as superior. Their clashes weren't just backstage gossip, they were moments that defined the rock hierarchy of the time. And now, after years of silence, Osbourne is pulling back the curtain, revealing that behind the legendary anthems and sold-out stadiums, Led Zeppelin's reality was far darker than their myth. Known for his candidness, Osbourne's recent revelations have sent shockwaves through the music community, unearthing tales of rivalries, scandals, and personal demons that plagued the iconic band. Led Zeppelin, often hailed as rock deities, were no strangers to controversy. Behind their electrifying performances lay a tapestry of conflicts and scandals that threatened to overshadow their musical genius. Their 1977 North American tour, for instance, was marred by chaos. In Cincinnati, over 70 fans were arrested as ticketless enthusiasts attempted to storm the Riverfront Coliseum, leading to shattered glass doors and heightened tensions. That same year, a Tampa Stadium concert was abruptly halted due to a severe thunderstorm, inciting a riot that resulted in numerous arrests and injuries. The band's internal dynamics were equally tumultuous, with darkness creeping in behind the curtain of their monumental success. At the center of it all was guitarist Jimmy Page, whose descent into heroin addiction during the mid-1970s became an open secret. What began as an indulgence spiraled into a full-blown dependency, leaving Page gaunt, erratic, and increasingly disconnected from reality. His performances, once filled with electrifying energy, became inconsistent, and his skeletal frame and vacant eyes during the 1977 tour sent shockwaves through fans and industry insiders alike. On some nights he played with transcendent brilliance. On others he was a ghost on stage, barely able to keep up with the band.
That was the best job I ever got fired from, because they had a challenge. I mean, whatever I've said about Tony Iommi in the past.
Page's struggles were exacerbated by the band's notorious lifestyle, constant touring, the pressures of maintaining their dominance in the rock world, and the endless supply of drugs that surrounded them. But his downward spiral wasn't just his burden to bear. It weighed heavily on Led Zeppelin's foundation, disrupting their chemistry and fueling tensions behind the scenes. The situation worsened as Page isolated himself, often retreating into a haze of heroin-fueled paranoia, making him nearly impossible to reach, even for his closest allies. His struggles weren't isolated. Manager Peter Grant, the band's colossal and feared guardian, also found himself drowning in addiction, his vice of choice being cocaine. Once a force to be reckoned with, Grant's control over the band weakened as his drug use took hold, leading to erratic decisions and explosive outbursts that only deepened the chaos. Together, Page and Grant, once the driving forces of Zeppelin's empire, became liabilities, their addictions chipping away at the band's stability. As the excesses mounted, so did the fractures within Led Zeppelin, threatening to collapse the mythos they had so carefully built. Led Zeppelin's confrontations weren't confined to their inner circle. They often spilled into the outside world, sometimes with disastrous consequences. A notorious incident during their 1977 tour involved the hiring of John Bindon, a feared London gangster with a reputation for violence, as a security coordinator. Bindon wasn't just a tough guy. He was known for his connections to the criminal underworld, and his presence in Zeppelin's camp only added to the already volatile energy surrounding the band. The decision to bring Bindon on board proved catastrophic. During a stop at the Oakland Coliseum, tensions escalated when members of the band's entourage, including Bindon and manager Peter Grant, became involved in a brutal altercation with promoter Bill Graham's staff. The confrontation quickly turned ugly. One of Graham's employees was viciously beaten, leaving him bloodied and unconscious. Bindon, with his violent instincts unchecked, played a central role in the assault, and what should have been a triumphant performance turned into a legal and public relations nightmare. The aftermath was swift and damning. Authorities wasted no time intervening, arresting several members of the Zeppelin camp, including Bindon. The incident not only led to legal battles but also permanently stained the band's reputation. The sheer brutality of the attack shocked even those accustomed to rock star excess, and the band, already known for their wild antics, suddenly found themselves viewed as something far darker. For Led Zeppelin, this was more than just another brush with controversy. It was a moment that exposed the dangerous, unchecked power that had begun to consume them from within. The band's journey was also marked by profound personal tragedies, the kind that leave permanent scars. Frontman Robert Plant faced unimaginable sorrow when his 5-year-old son, Karak, fell suddenly ill and died in 1977 due to a severe stomach virus. The news struck Plant like a bolt of lightning, shattering his world in an instant. He had been thousands of miles away on tour when he received the call, a moment that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The agony of losing a child was overwhelming, and for a while it seemed as though Plant might never return to music. Devastation extended beyond Plant himself. The entire band was shaken, with the tragedy serving as yet another fracture in an already crumbling foundation. The tour was abruptly canceled, leaving behind legions of disappointed fans, but the decision was inevitable. There was no way Plant could continue performing when his heart was shattered beyond repair. Friends and family worried about his state of mind. Grief consumed him, and even his bandmates, known for their wild excesses, treaded carefully around him in the months that followed. Plant's sorrow was compounded by the isolation he felt within Led Zeppelin. While Page, Bonham, and Jones were sympathetic, they were also immersed in their own personal struggles, making it difficult for them to provide the emotional support he desperately needed. Rumors swirled that Plant had considered walking away from Led Zeppelin entirely, unable to reconcile his personal loss with the demands of the rock star life. For a moment it seemed like this might be the breaking point, the moment where Led Zeppelin finally crumbled under the weight of its own tragedies and excesses. Ozzy Osbourne wasn't the only one who had issues with Led Zeppelin. Over the years, the band built a reputation for being difficult to work with, even among their peers. Their feuds with other musicians were legendary, with many artists, including Osbourne himself, feeling slighted by their dismissive and often condescending attitude. During the height of their fame, Zeppelin was known to brush off other rock acts, believing themselves to be in a league of their own. Osbourne recalled moments when they barely acknowledged Black Sabbath, despite the fact that both bands were dominating the rock scene at the same time. The tension wasn't just professional, it was personal. Osbourne, with his wild, unfiltered energy, clashed with Zeppelin's self-seriousness, and he wasn't afraid to call them out for what he saw as their inflated sense of importance. Interpersonal conflicts further strained the band's unity, slowly chipping away at the foundation that had once made them an unstoppable force in rock. Bassist John Paul Jones, long regarded as the quiet backbone of Led Zeppelin, found himself increasingly alienated from the band's inner circle. The tensions reached their peak during the mid-1918s, when Jimmy Page and Robert Plant reunited for a series of high-profile collaborations, leaving Jones completely out of the equation. The snub was not just professional, it was deeply personal, a wound that cut to the heart of the band's history. When asked about his exclusion, Jones, usually reserved and diplomatic, could no longer hide his frustration, famously stating that he learned about the reunion the same way everyone else did, on TV. The resentment had been brewing for years. Jones had long felt sidelined, his contributions often overshadowed by the Page-Plant duo, whose chemistry, both creative and destructive, dominated the band's image. Throughout the 1917s, he had quietly endured the excesses of his bandmates, the drugs, the egos, the infighting, yet his patience had its limits. By the time Led Zeppelin disbanded following John Bonham's tragic death in 1980, Jones had already distanced himself emotionally from the chaos. While Page and Plant continued to carry the Zeppelin legacy forward, Jones retreated into a more low-key career, collaborating with musicians outside the band's orbit. But the feuds didn't end with Jones. Over the years, Zeppelin members found themselves embroiled in bitter disputes with industry figures, former collaborators, and even within their own management team. Peter Grant, the band's infamous manager, ruled with an iron fist. But even he couldn't prevent the fractures from forming. Clashes over royalties, songwriting credits, and personal grievances would continue to haunt the band's legacy, proving that even the gods of rock were not immune to the same struggles that tear apart so many musical partnerships. Despite the myriad of challenges, Led Zeppelin's influence on rock music remains indelible. Their ability to craft timeless music while navigating personal and professional upheavals is a testament to their resilience. Yet, as Osbourne's revelations remind us, even legends are not immune to the pitfalls of fame, serving as a poignant reminder of the human frailties that often accompany stardom. Ozzy's criticisms may have shocked fans, but they also echoed sentiments long whispered in the rock world. The truth behind Led Zeppelin's rise to fame wasn't just about talent. It was about power, control, and at times, sheer arrogance. Their story is as much about their groundbreaking achievements as it is about the tensions, scandals, and rivalries that defined them. Osbourne's words serve as a final reckoning, forcing fans to confront the reality that even the greatest rock gods had their share of darkness. Despite the myriad of challenges, Led Zeppelin's influence on rock music remains indelible. Their ability to craft timeless music while navigating personal and professional upheavals is a testament to their resilience. Yet, as Osbourne's revelations remind us, even legends are not immune to the pitfalls of fame, serving as a poignant reminder of the human frailties that often accompany stardom. The saga of Led Zeppelin is a complex interplay of brilliance and chaos, a tale woven with moments of musical genius and self-destructive excess. Their name is etched into the annals of rock history, a beacon of innovation, rebellion, and untamed energy. Yet beneath the surface of their anthemic riffs and electrifying performances lay a band teetering on the edge. Plagued by addiction, their meteoric rise was matched only by the turbulence that followed them at every turn, leaving behind a legacy that is both legendary and deeply troubled. For every stadium they filled with euphoric fans, there was a night of chaos that threatened to bring it all crashing down. The allure of their music was inseparable from the mayhem that fueled it. Unrelenting touring schedules, unchecked egos, and an unquenchable thirst for excess. They were titans, but they were also human, vulnerable to the same demons that have consumed countless rock stars before and after them. Their music continues to inspire generations, solidifying their place as one of the greatest bands of all time. But the darker stories of their conflicts, scandals, and personal struggles serve as a sobering reminder of the cost of fame, the dangers of indulgence, and the fine line between artistic brilliance and self-destruction. In the end, Led Zeppelin did not simply define an era, they embodied both its triumphs and its tragedy.